Today I'm going to try to do an Impressionist painting. So in the last video we talked about observing and we talked about Impressionist painters. And so today I'm going to kind of combine them together along with the two other studio habits, stretch and explore and engage and persist, because I'm going to try something new. I haven't really done an Impressionist painting before, and so I'm going to try to do that today. And so I put up I have this reference photo that I took, well, technically I think my dad took when we were in the Adirondacks, and I kind of brought it into a photo editing thing just to kind of bring up the saturation so I could see all the colors that are actually there. And so now I'm going to use this as a reference photo, and I'm going to use kind of both of them to do my own painting. Along with that, I'm actually really inspired today by a contemporary or a present artist that is an Impressionist. Her work is so cool. Her name is Anastasia Trusova, I believe is her name. Let me quickly check. I follow her on Instagram. She has some really cool stuff. Yes, Anastasia Trusova, and her work is so cool. I'll put up one of my favorite examples right here. Alright, and so now I'm going to do a overhead view or bird's eye view of what I'm going to be doing on my tiny little piece of paper, my sketchbook, and just kind of stretching and exploring and see if I get an Impressionist painting at the end of this video. So I have my setup here ready to go. I have on my computer right here the two reference photos, the original and the really super saturated one, so the colors are super duper vibrant. And I'm going to practice drawing that first in the sketchbook part to make sure I kind of like the layout, and then I will get it onto this tiny little piece of watercolor paper. I'm kind of doing it small because to me it's almost like a kind of like a thumbnail sketch to see if I really kind of like this idea or if I like the colors. And so I'm going to use that. I have my acrylic paints all ready to go. Got my paint palette. I think it's time to zoom you in and get to practicing. So zoom in. We've got a piece of paper here. All right. So let's see. Need a pencil. If I can find one. There we go. And so I kind of like. Let's see if it's gonna be kind of the right. And then. So I definitely have some what's called atmospheric perspective happening. At least I think that's what it's called. Editing Miss Richmond figured that out. And so I have like this horizon line happening here with some mountains, but they're almost in lighter in shade just because they are farther away. And I do like the sky and all those clouds, so I kind of want to include those. So we have some layers of mountains, and then it's like the lake. I believe it's, which lake is it? I think it was the fourth lake at the Adirondacks. I don't remember. And then I like this little tiny island right here. And there's kind of like, that's the other landmass. And then we got all these clouds up here. And I really like painting clouds. When I was in grad school, I tried to do a whole unit with watercolors about painting clouds, and it was a lot harder with the watercolors just because I couldn't add white. The white was of the paper, so that was kind of tricky, but it was a lot of fun. And I like clouds just because they have all these different colors in them. When they look white, but when you stare at them long enough and, you know, use your studio habit observe, you really start to see these blues and pinks and purples, yellows. You see a lot of different colors in the clouds, and it's kind of cool. Paint really helps you capture it, I guess. You can't really capture it in a photo unless you then really kind of do what I did, which is photo edit. Anyways, okay, I kind of like how that's happening. It doesn't look super duper right because, oh, there's mountains over here. That's why. There are mountains that I didn't really capture. There, that looks a little better. Yeah, I know, it looks messy again. Thumbnail sketch, not gonna look beautiful. But I think that's gonna be it. And so, based off of Anastasia Trusova's method, she paints on canvas, but I'm gonna, just because I have this, I'm gonna paint on this today. And she does like the first layer, instead of pencil, she does it with paint, which I think is a traditional way to do it. Again, I haven't really done too much acrylic painting, minus like just some fun stuff, and plus like I haven't painted with acrylic painting in the sense since like probably high school, so it's been a while. But I'm going to, let's see, I'm gonna want blue and greens. I'll start with the yellow. So let's maybe do green outline. So I'm gonna green and actually add a little bit more of a blue to it. So I'm just gonna fill up my paper plate, my paint palette. Whoop. And I can open up my way. Oh, it's tricky. Oh, come on. Whew, there we go. Okay. And then I'll mix up some color that I like to do for the base, and then I'll get this pencil line drawing on here with a small paintbrush. Okay, now I have two different ways of mixing. I might mix with the paint palette knife, so I save more paint for the paintbrushing. Sure, why not? We're gonna try. We're stretching and exploring today. Might as well. So I'm gonna take some green, some oh, that's my blue, I guess. I'm gonna mix them up. Ooh, yeah, that'll be great color. And then I add just a little bit of white, just to like brighten up the color. I think that will be a nice color to use as a kind of an outline. Okay. Wipe it with a towel. And then I think she adds a little bit of water to it, so it's not as opaque, but not as opaque as watercolor. All right, let's see. So I'm gonna paint the land mass. I like the, looking back at my reference photo. So I think I'm going to let that, oh, you didn't see it, I'm so sorry. So I just painted the little sketch lines so it looks kind of like this one. And I'm gonna let this dry, and then I'm going to start painting the sky. I'm gonna start in the background first. I think that will be the best way to do it. That's how most paintings happen. You start in the background. So background. And then, I guess I'm also kind of envisioning today too, because I'm like planning out my steps and seeing the picture in my brain. Yeah, all right, I'll let this dry and I'll be back when it's all done. All right, so the line work is almost all dry. There's a small little part that's definitely wet still, but I'm gonna be focusing on doing the sky part. And I know most Impressionists actually used color straight from the tube, or they used chalk pastels when they're doing their en plein air paintings. And sadly, I can't do an en plein air painting today because one, not in the Adirondacks, and two, it's kind of really cold out and there's a little bit of snow on the ground. Thanks the month of March. But anyways, I decided I needed to get some pastel colors first to lay down, and then I might go in with a straight color from the tube. Just because looking at the reference photos and looking at some of Anastasia's work. Being a modern impressionist, it's okay to have some colors pre-mixed. So I mixed them up. I have a nice blue, yellow, and magenta and purple to kind of go in there, and I have some white. And so I'm just gonna go in, lay down the blue, and then let that dry for a little bit. And so I'll lay down the pastel blue, probably add a couple of these dark blue marks, go in with white for the clowns, and once that dries, I might come in, dries a little at least, go to try to add some yellow, magentas, and purples. I think that's my plan. I can see it in my brain. I tried to map it out using my Studio Habit Envision, and I'm definitely going to engage in persist through this. And let's see, if I want my brush strokes to definitely be seen, I think I'll use, because I'm using such a small, oh, gotta get this paintbrush wet. There you go. Such a small little canvas. I think I'll go in with the bigger one first to lay down the color, and then go in with a smaller one to add the little strokes. That's the sign for strokes, if you didn't know. All right, so I'll go in, and I'm gonna paint right over my lines. That's okay. I'm just gonna lay in the color right down on top. Going over some of those lines, which is okay with me, because again, I have my small little thumbnail sketch right there, plus I know what it should look like. And the paper for me might start to curl just because it is a watercolor paper. I tend to like to just paint on this because I have so much of it and it's easily accessible. I'm not even gonna wash my paintbrush. I'm just gonna go right in with the blue. Yeah, and then just kind of, there's some dark parts up here. I'm kind of just gonna go in like that. Yeah, and I might go back in. I'm gonna wash my paintbrush just to get some of that dark blue out. Have it on my paper towel. You can't really see, but I'm doing it, I swear. And go in with a little bit of white to kind of add some of those clouds. Think, here, let me bring you in closer just so you can see. Get out of the way, paper plate. Kind of kind of like that. I'm definitely gonna let the white dry a little bit, and then I'm gonna put little bits of yellow just in the clouds so that they kind of pop a little bit more and add a little bit more of that kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Exaggerated color scheme, that saturated color, and I think that will look really nice. And then I'll move on to the middle ground, so those mountains I kind of painted over. So once this is dry, I'll be right back with you to do the middle ground. Okay, so to be honest, I was a little impatient, so while it was still drying, I did go back in off camera and added a little bit more white in areas, just because when I was looking at it and kind of looked at some of the back to the reference photos, it just didn't seem this was white enough for me to be able to put yellow down. So I put some white down. So I'm gonna kind of step away from the sky for a hot moment, and I'm gonna actually go in and work on that middle ground, those mountains and the horizon. And I figured you would probably most likely want to see the painting actually happening and not so much the color mixing. So I kind of brought you in a lot closer. I'll bring you a little bit in, a little bit more, so you can see the painting happening. And so, yeah, gonna just keep going. I'm kind of really liking it. I like how the sky looks. It looks very loose and just looking more at just like the colors and the quick motions that I'm making with the paintbrush is really fun and exciting, and I don't know, kind of freeing in a way. So I'm kind of really into this. I'm gonna just, I guess, now go right into the middle ground and get to work. There's the middle ground mountains and that horizon line. I think I'm gonna go in or let it dry, and then I'll go in and do the lake, and then once that dries, I'll do the island and this landmass over here. I think I kind of like it. I definitely need to let it dry to put some more of the more strokes of color in it, because I'm seeing that there's a little bit more of like a like a minty leprechaunish green, I'd call it here in my reference photo, and then a little bit more of a blue up here in this mountain, but I gotta kind of let it dry for a second before I add those colors on top. But I'll see you back when it's ready to work on the more of the foreground, I guess. All right, time. Sorry, clean my paintbrush. Just realized it was still dirty. Oh no. Time to get that lake done, because I think once I get the lake done, I can then layer on top of that with this. That's what's so cool about acrylic and even tempera paint. You can do this, is lay down color and just paint right on top of it. But I first need to go in, I want to fix this mountain. I think I need to just add a little bit of blue to it. Oh well, I just did something weird. Oh well, I'll just let it do its weird thing. Kind of just let it go. Okay. While that dries, let's work on the, I'm gonna get that big paintbrush again and lay down a little bit of that blue from the sky. I'm just adding a little bit more white to it to make it a little bit lighter. I'll just go right in and fill it up. All right, so I just added the yellow up at the top, so these yellows tie together. And I actually went in with a little bit of the purple that I put in the clouds. I took just the purple straight from the tube to add the purple lines here, so that I could actually then take a little bit more of the purple that I have the white in to add strokes of purple here. I think I really like it. Woo, look at that. Oh my goodness, I like it so much. So here, let me slide it aside. I'll put the reference photo here. And what do you think? Did I kind of impressionize the photo a little bit? I mean, I definitely pushed my own boundaries today and definitely stretched my skills in trying to figure out how to do this whole impressionist thing. If you want to check out more about Anastasia Trusova, I'll put her Instagram in the description below because her artwork is really cool. And her work and the Impressionist work inspired today's little tiny mini painting I did. I hope you have had some fun watching, and I hope that you try to stretch and explore and try something new today yourself. All right, I'll see you all later.